don't know. It's just spinning. It says it's starting.
Are
Here
we
we
up?
go.
Are we up and running?
Yes, we're running. So welcome everybody. And we missed our Friday vlog yesterday because we weren't feeling very well, or I in particularly was not feeling very well, but not so much on the physical level, more on the mental and emotional level. We have been, Angus and I have been under the weather for the past week or so, but yesterday I really took a nosedive in terms of my mood. And I thought I would just share a little bit about it here to hopefully be of support to others and to. What's that noise? What is that noise? Are you getting up now at 12 o'clock?
Well, because we were under the weather, and one of the things that caused a great deal of dismay for you yesterday was that my alarm went off early. I set it for noon today, just in case.
You're
I
sleeping.
didn't. I slept, which is very unlikely, but just as a precautionary exercise, because there
Right.
is something that I have to do this afternoon.
Okay. Let me see if I can share this video while we're doing it. I don't know if I can. Can you
But it is the first time that I probably have set my alarm to go off at noon, midday, since I was a teenager. But I
All
wanted to
right.
make sure I got a lot of shut-eye last night.
Yes,
I
that's
didn't
good.
want to interrupt your beauty sleep because that seemed to cause a big problem yesterday morning.
All right. So I managed to share that. So where was I? I was saying that yesterday my mood took a significant nosedive, and there was, some minor irritations that occurred for me, which normally would not have, phased me probably in the least. But yesterday I just went really, really dark, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. And I'm sharing about it to just destigmatize it. It can be really easy to think that, oh, if you have a certain amount of understanding, that's going to mean that you don't ever get depressed or feel badly or behave badly. And that's, just not true. We are still going to be human. And yesterday I had a very human day where, my mood dropped really, really low, really, really dark, so dark that I didn't even want to live. It seems crazy to talk about right now, but that was the experience that I was having yesterday. And I was embarrassed about it. I didn't want to tell Angus, who was really concerned about me and wanted me to talk to him, and I didn't want to talk to him because I didn't want to freak him out. And then eventually I did talk to him, and then he did get freaked out. The very thing that I didn't want to happen happened, and that's just how it was. And so, the reason that I'm sharing it here is I just want to normalize the experience for people. I want to just, show the human face of what it is, to have a normal human experience. And even in my sort of with the understanding that I have, I did know that I wasn't myself. I did know that I was having crazy thoughts. I think that knowing allowed me not to do anything crazy. I didn't really act on them. I just kind of was almost catatonic, lying in bed, not saying or doing anything. But a part of me still wanted to have a different experience. And I kind of look to my deeper nature, not that I shouldn't have been doing that, but I was looking more from the place of the ego, trying to change how I was feeling. And what I realized at some point was that's what I was doing. And so I recognized that all I could do was just allow myself to be in the experience I was having, allow myself to just be in the present moment, not try to change it, not try to fight it, not try to worry about the fact that Angus was freaking out about, me feeling so badly, and to just kind of realize it was going to last as long as it lasted, and to, just stay quiet and still while it was going on. And so that's what I did. And it lasted way longer than I would have ever expected. It went way darker than I ever would have thought. But here I am today, feeling more normal, more my normal self. And, I see that it was just kind of, there was no logic to it. It wasn't like, oh, if I had done this or if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have that experience. I can really see just the random nature of it. And it doesn't mean anything about me that I had that experience. It doesn't take away any of my worth or value. And I think that's the message that I want to share with all of you, is that whatever your experience is, it doesn't mean anything about you. It's not who you are. It doesn't define you. And your worth is not measured on that. Not that your worth can ever be measured. You're priceless, and your true nature is there no matter what. And I just had a really strong experience of feeling separate from it. It was just a really strong experience that was very painful, and it wasn't the truth. And that ultimately is the worst that can happen to any of us, that we have an experience of being separate from our true nature. And we feel the pain and suffering of that. And some days it can be really extreme, or fairly extreme, like it was for me yesterday. At least it was extreme for me. And other days it's much more subtle. But ultimately, I was fundamentally okay no matter what crazy thoughts were going through my mind.
Yes, and it seems like there probably were some crazy thoughts going through your mind, as there were some crazy thoughts going through my mind. And I think that the way that the day unfolded for me yesterday was that, first of all, I want to be transparent about this, because I feel like, in terms of our current health condition, and we're definitely feeling so much better than we were, but it's ticked some of the boxes that would suggest that this coronavirus is a possibility. But if that is the case, we've had it very mildly. But nevertheless, it has been a worry. And we were, fairly unwell at the beginning of the week, and so I think it was Thursday I woke up and I just suddenly got a sense that I'm on an upward curve here. I'm starting to feel better. So my spirits started to lift. And then, I started to feel progressively better throughout the course of Thursday. And then when I went to bed, went to sleep, woke up, and I actually felt pretty good. And so there was a sort of this big black cloud, if you like, lifted psychologically from my human experience at that point. And so I was kind of really looking forward to just being in this state of well-being. And of course, you were in a completely different place. Which kind of threw me through a little bit of a loop. And also I find myself reacting to it and taking it personally. And I think that I was having to, there was various things that I had to do on the work front. So interspersed with me working and my spirits getting lifted when I was working, then I would then come back and encounter you with this downcast face. And there were various things that perhaps I had done that, and that were obviously, upon reflection, fairly insensitive, that you reacted to and probably didn't help matters for you whatsoever. And so, and then I went into sort of an old pattern. And I guess in my psychological impairment and me getting caught up and me and my separate self, I felt like, here is this person, she's completely corrupting my state of well-being. I need to address this and get it back on track, which is like, what I would have done in the past, really shooting myself in the head here. And then I set about, doing exactly that. And obviously it went from bad to worse very quickly. And I was trying to prise it out of you. And it was just like almost going back in time and having this experience of what our relationship used to look like when I would do exactly that. You would get depressed and I would try and find out what the hell's going on inside your head. Why waddle in that wallow in that negativity? It was kind of like that was kind of probably going through my head. And I did a very poor job, obviously, and things went south very quickly. But at some point I had the good sense to remove myself, which in the past probably that physical removal would have been a problem in itself. But I decided, I just have to, I have to find my balance. Or it just occurred to me that would be helpful. So I went elsewhere in the house and sat down and reflected upon it. And at some point, I realized that that you will find your wisdom. It's there. It's just that you have got caught up and you've got very separate. You've separated yourself from your essential nature, and that there's nothing I can do with interference. There's nothing I can do. I can't run interference on that process. You will have to come back to that in your own timing. But the worst thing that I can do now is to try and cajole you into a state of well-being. So I got the sense that, she will come back into balance, and as I will too, because I'm obviously not very balanced at this point in time, but I trust that will come into play. And also the fact that, I also had to consider that, that our current health condition is probably having an effect on our emotions as well. And obviously our emotions are probably going to be a little bit frayed having this experience. And so, I saw your psychological innocence and in a sense saw mine. But more importantly, I think I trusted the fact that you would come back into balance. And maybe you were. Maybe you were just as much as I were. Maybe a little bit more psychologically impaired.
I was very psychologically impaired.
But that's all that was happening, and I didn't have to take it personally. And I think it was just the shock of seeing someone like you, who I, hold up as a real bastion of this understanding, in the sense that, I've seen so much growth and change in you, and it's been so long since I've seen you take something so personally and get so separate from your essential nature, that was kind of a shock to my system. So it kind of threw me through a bit of a loop, and it was sort of a chain reaction, if you like, a chain reaction of separation, that eventually I feel like I snapped out of it and saw the psychological innocence, probably first in myself and then for you. And then it was just a case of, like, at some point she'll come back into a true self. But there's nothing I can do to hurry that along. And lo and behold, we got back there eventually.
Yeah. And so really our encouragement to you is to be gentle with yourself, to know that you're whole and complete no matter what your emotional experience is. And what I saw more deeply for myself yesterday was that just simply being with it was the easiest way to navigate it. Not even sort of looking to try and find my true nature. That created more suffering in the moment. That it was just simply being with all of the craziness in my mind, but still finding a quiet in that and allowing it to be. And even though, I got a little concerned about, how worried you were getting about me, it's like I realized, like, I can't do anything to help him right now. I just need to stay still and be quiet and just let myself have this experience, whatever it is. And so if anybody else is suffering or struggling or feeling low, I'm sending you my love and encouraging you to just let yourself be gentle with yourself, kind with yourself, get quiet and allow yourself to be wherever you're at, and know that it will move through you, because you are not your experience. Your true nature is not your experience, and you will have all kinds of experience just like I did yesterday, but it doesn't define you, just like it doesn't define me.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. I kind of also the metaphor that comes to mind for me was, it was like someone trying to hold their nose underwater, and that eventually they're going to have to let go and come back to the surface. I think that's what kind of came forward for me around you. At some point you will come back to the surface, and you're doing a remarkably good job at holding your breath. But why fight nature? Why do I need to interfere with something that's going to be very natural? You will come back into your well-being. I don't have to
And I want to be clear, like with that metaphor, I know it's your metaphor, but in your metaphor, it's like I'm doing it, like I'm trying to do it. And it just came over me in such a sudden and profound way. It didn't feel like I was doing it, even though I know that I was on some level creating that experience for myself. It did not feel that way at all. Did not feel like I had a choice about it. And I'm okay, even though I couldn't see that. I did come out of it, but it wasn't something that I was intentionally, consciously feeding into.
Well, that's where the ego's so damn tricky.
I know. Damn ego. Anything else?
No, I just thought, in terms of living on a positive note, I feel like the thing that's been sort of marinating in my mind ever since, I think it was last week at the Soul Centered series, you shared that Dickens quote from A Tale of Two Cities.
Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens, not Dickon Bettinger. Charles Dickens. That quote, this is the best of times, this is the worst of times, and that's taken all kinds of new meaning to me. But one thing that has occurred to me this week is that, yes, of course, this is the worst of times in every sense of the word, in terms of this virus and the effect that it's having on people's lives and people's families. But in terms of it being the best of times, it occurs to me that there's all sorts of scientific innovation, all kinds of discovery. A lot of people are trying to work around the clock to figure out a cure and to figure out, some of the things that they can do to rise to the occasion. For me, there is definitely examples of very profound leadership surfacing in the face of what has been a lamentably low quality of leadership in this country for some time. I feel like I'm starting to see signs where people are just really, rising to the occasion and are sharing from a place of wisdom and understanding that I think is going to be very uplifting in the long haul. And so that's just something for me to feel positive about. I feel like people will be inclined to look more in the direction of their quiet mind and come up with all kinds of new creative solutions and creative ideas, ways to interact with one another, and all kinds, as I say, of innovation that I think is going to be quite spectacular. So we'll see what happens, but I feel like there's a beautiful shift taking place too.
Yeah, I feel it in terms of how people are coming together, how there's just so much kindness, love, and support of each other, and that we're really seeing how we're all connected, and that oneness is kind of being lived and expressed. And I love how people are helping each other out with humor, all those memes that have made me laugh even when I haven't been feeling well. And so there's just such a beauty in seeing the human spirit come through, and to see the love and care and understanding being expressed. So just sending all of you love, and looking forward to seeing you another time. And hey, Sharon. Hey, Mariella. Love to you
guys.
both. All right. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Lots of love.
Lots of love. Stay healthy.
Bye.
Bye.